Hey guys, this is Forsaken Reality here with the 14th episode of the RPG tutorial series. In this episode, we're going to deal with control rotation for directional attacks, and we'll also set it up for when you don't have a weapon equipped. So, for example, your head and part of your torso will bend when you look up and down. But when you have a weapon equipped, we need to set it up for extra bones. So, this will be useful for things like, say, when you're in first person, somebody mentioned that their head clips into the camera. This will solve this issue because your head will now move with the camera. And later on, when we add in a targeting system and aiming, I'll set up a method so that, like, when you have a weapon equipped, it's not using the control rotation, but if you're locked on to a target and attacking, only when you're attacking, basically, it will swing the sword in a direction so that you can't, like, run around looking up and down and have some weird animations. But I'll also set it up so your head still moves while you're not locked on, basically, so you can look around. And depending on how that goes, we might put in some upper body movement, but we'll see when we get there. So without further ado, we'll get into setting up the control rotation for directional attacks and when you're walking without a weapon. The first thing we're going to want to do is head into our character blueprint. And in here, or actually we'll put this variable in our character component, create a new variable called control rotation. And that is all we will be needing in here. And so now we want to go back to our character, go to our replication graph, and we want to go to pull out our character component and set control rotation in our replication graph. And we want to create a custom event. And we'll call this server control rotation. And we'll run this on the server and set it reliable. Set that to directional aiming replication. Now that we have that, we want to go to our input graph. We want to pull this out, the rotation rates, or not the rotation rates, sorry. Move up, down. Oh, actually, we do want the rotation rates, not the look up, down. So we grab our rotation rates. From here, we want to pull out there. And first we're going to get control rotation. And we're going to split this so we can just get the Y, which is up and down. And we're going to multiply this by -1, which flips it, because by default it goes the opposite way we're going to want it to move. And when you lean forward, it'll lean backwards. And then you want to go server control rotation. Oh, we're missing something here. We need the input. Yeah, we need to split this. And we'll drag the X into there. We'll call this patient X roll. Now we want to go back to our input graph. And now we can plug this into here. So this will determine the exact value. This will send a value from here to. We need to get our control rotation next. So I'm going to get our character component. Control rotation. We want to set this. Split this pin. And we want to drag the out of here, plug this into the control rotation X. I'll explain this a little more once I finish cleaning it up a little. So basically this is flipping the rotation so it rotates forward and backwards with the mouse properly versus the opposite. And this will send it to the control rotation X, which will replicate it to the server so the client can play it as well. And it will send the control rotation X. So basically your control rate is your control rotation. And as you move your mouse up, it gets a value between -1 and 1. As you're moving up and down, it's getting a value. I'll show you a bit more after. And I'll just comment this. Yep. So this is being handled during the lookup rate. We will just organize this a bit more so we can fit it in here. There we go. And now we want to go to our character component, and we're going to put this control rotation in our movement. We want to create another variable. It's going to be a boolean, and it's going to be weapon equipped. So this is going to check. It's a boolean that we can pass to our animation blueprint to check if we have a weapon equipped. And we want to set that. We want to go back to our character where we have our pickup item. And after we set our holdable reference right here, make some space. We want to get our character component and set our weapon equipped to true. When we set up the unequipped and dropping weapon, that's when it'll be set to false. We'll do that very soon. So set weapon equipped. Now that we have that done, we are going to want to head into our animation blueprint. And here we'll go to our update graph. And from there we will drag it up here and search for control rotation. So we have it in the character components, so we're dragging it out. Right click, promote the variable. I'll name it for you. Should. And we also need to drag out and get weapon equipped. We need to use this in the animation blueprint to tell if the weapon is equipped or not. And we'll promote that to a variable as well. And I'm thinking I'm just going to collapse this. It's getting a little big, so I'm just going to check the character is valid. I'm going to collapse nodes, and I'm going to call this character variables. Variables from the character. That's an input. Let's put an output there so it can continue. Now that we have the control rotation set up and the weapon equipped, we want to go to our anim graph. I close out some of these. And in our anim graph, first thing we're going to want to do is create a movement pose, or a saved cache pose. This will be movement cache. Bring this down some. For now, we'll plug in movement cache so it works still. Now it's time to set up the control rotation, so we'll create a new pose. We've saved cache pose. We'll call this final pose. This is just before everything. We'll set everything else up above this, and then this will actually plug into here. Final pose. And from here we want to blend poses by bool. So we want to, so depending on a Boolean variable, which will be if our weapon is equipped or not, this will determine if we're ever going to use the control rotation for when a sword and a shield is equipped, or when you're unequipped. This one's specifically for a sword and a shield. Within the next few videos, I'm going to be importing some regular sword animations that aren't for the shield, and I may set up one specifically for the shield depending on how it looks. For now, this will do. So first we want to get a transform modify bone. This allows you to control specific bones from within your animation blueprint depending on what's running. It'll set the location, rotation, and scale of them. And we're going to be using our control rotation variable to determine a value between -1 and 1 from when we're looking up and down to move the head slightly. So first we're going to need it. For this one, this is going to be if a weapon's equipped. So we need to get our spine 01. And from here we're going to get our control rotation. And we need to create another variable called rotation alpha, which will be a variable that we can manipulate from within here for now. It will be a float. And move it up right there for now. So put that, call this directional look for now. I'll rename the category. It's 5:49 in the morning. A little bit tired at the moment. Still have a little bit organized there. So now we have our control rotation and we have an alpha, which will set by default to 1. I want to multiply this 0.2. So it slightly moves the spine of the line. Then we want to drag out of here. By the way, these are not just like any set variables. You can adjust these if you want. You can adjust this variable to change the amount the character turns during that specific, for that specific bone. I want to copy and paste this here, copy and paste. Should just copy the whole thing. And for this bone, it's going to be spine 02. And copy and paste that and get spine 03. So spine 1, 2, and 3 set up here, each with an alpha of 0.2. And finally, we want to drag out of here and search for the, did we name that movement cache? Drag out of there and search for it. So search for this, because can't do that because it doesn't actually plug into there due to this node. And there is what is there a warning there? Okay, for the rotation, so we're also going to want to do add to existing rather than ignore, because we want to, whatever the current rotation is, we're going to want to add to that. And we'll do the same thing for all the other 2. Add to exist the current rotation. And there we go. And so that's for when we have a comment this. This is for when we have a short sword and or a shield equipped. I'm going to comment the whole thing after with the control rotation. For if we don't have a sword equipped, we're going to copy everything here, paste it right here. It's going to be slightly different. So for here, we're going to, for this one, we're going to set head. .4. Spine 01. I'd have those. Works better like that. Spine 02. And that should be good. And then we'll plug this into here. And this will be the unequipped. So we don't have any weapons equipped. This will move head and part of the upper body. You can just if you want to disable the upper body, you can simply just do this. Remove and delete that. Move this over. You can also play around with your own. Try some other bones, and maybe you'll end up coming out with a slightly better outcome. The more bones you add, the more manipulation you do to it, the better your outcome can obviously be. We'll tweak it over time with this as I find some better movements, but this should be good for now. So now that this is all plugged in, we should have our control rotation, I believe. Yes, so your character looks down and he looks up. The weapon, he'll look down, he'll look up. It's slightly different, so the weapon is going to go inside of him. You can now attack downwards and upwards. So there you go. That is the control rotation setup. And also, when you're in first person now, but if you notice the head move with the camera, I can't get the clip out. We'll also do foot rotations as well in the next few videos, and the head rotation until the foot rotation happens. But yeah, the only time I ever got it before was when I looked up, and now it doesn't seem to happen. So there we go. So that'll be everything for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or join my Discord, send me a question. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave those as well. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and like it. And I will see you all in the next video.